The destination South Africa now, as we get a precision insight into the art of wheelchair racing with 10-time Boston Marathon winner Ernst van Dijk.
I was born in 1973 with a congenital birth defect, which basically meant that from my knees down my legs didn't develop normally and my right arm didn't develop normally. Being disabled, and growing up in South Africa, I was confronted a lot with, no, you can't do that, or no, you wouldn't do that, or you can't. And it kind of motivated me and drove me to succeed to the level where I have done today. I went through a lot of surgeries as I was growing up, and I think we counted about 18 big surgeries where I was under for more than 6 hours. And if I think back to my youth, a lot of my memories is about pain. I just remember waking up in hospitals and having a lot of pain. So when I'm doing my events, and a lot of my events are endurance events, and there's a lot of pain involved, and it's somehow the pain that I experience in those events are nothing compared to what I experienced as a young child, and therefore I can tolerate more. My biggest achievement in the chair is probably my 10 victories at the Boston Marathon. Somehow I fell in love with that race and I was really successful there. Been there 16 times now. I've won 10 and I've been on the podium every time of those 16 except for once. The racing chair is really tough to master. There's a lot of guys that get into it and they don't succeed because it takes a lot of years to master the technique, the way you stroke the chair or the way you push the chair. These days everybody makes their own gloves, so we use a plastic which we can mold and ply with heat, and then everybody basically makes these little prosthetic devices that we put on our hands to be able to push that chair fast, because essentially what you are doing is you're almost like a boxer. You're hitting the wheel every time you push it, and you're hitting it with a lot of speed and a lot of power to propel yourself forward, and you need to condition your body to be able to take that impact. The way you sit in the chair is also very tricky, and a lot of guys can't get it right because it takes years and years of patience to find that sweet spot that works for you. It's the little things that can make a big difference. So it's very much precision about the gloves being right, the wheels being right, the right tires for the right conditions, the right pressure and the right conditioning. I will make sure that I know the course really well. I will know every turn in the course. I will know every little hill, every little downhill, because those are tactical advantages. I know my opponents very well. I study their results before a race, and I try and make sure that I know if somebody's carrying a small injury or they're coming off a win and they have a lot of confidence. Those are the guys you need to be aware of. A lot of our marathons are now ending up in sprints. I think in the last 9 marathons I did, all of them ended up in the sprint, where there was 5, 6, 7 or 8 of us still left. And it's quite intense when you're doing an all-out 400 meter or maybe 800 meter sprint after you've just done 40 Ks, 26 miles. So it all comes down to less than a second on the day. And for that we need to be spot on, and the precision needs to be 110%. Through the years, I went through my career and I developed as a wheelchair racer up to a point where I was really successful and I was winning most of the races I was doing, and I was looking for a new challenge. And then hand cycling was just coming up and becoming more popular, and more people were doing it, and I started doing them both at the same time. And it wasn't long before I was successful in hand cycling too, and I think last year I had the #1 world ranking in the world for the marathon as well as the hand cycling. The main difference between the two is wheelchair racing is an athletic event. Cycling is exactly what it says, it's cycling. So you have a chain, you have crank arms, you have gears, and you basically power the bike through pedaling on the crank arms that delivers the power to the front wheel. In both pieces of equipment we're sitting in a kneeling position, so we will be on our knees and the body will be slightly tilted forward. In the racing chair there's a little bit more upper body movement as we hit the chair and as we stroke the wheels. On the hand bike it's a little bit less movement and we're a little bit more upright. You have to know your gears, you have to know when you're going to be in a good gear, you have to know things like cadence, and you have to use stuff like watts to train. So all of us, these days we have power meters, and basically we train on average power and maximum power, and that's also what we use when we race. Like when I do a time trial, I know exactly what my power range is, where I'm comfortable and where I'm going to blow up, and you kind of ride that knife's edge between the point where you're going to blow up and just being able to maintain it. For the future, things are looking good. I'm working hard towards Rio. I'm going to try and do both events at Rio, do the marathon and the hand cycling, time trial and road race. I love having a goal and a target and something to achieve, and that's what keeps me going. So I'm going to do it as long as I can because I love it.